I was the executive director here, the attorney general for the tribe. And I was the youngest attorney general to take that position, to be politically appointed. And so I was really nervous going into that role. But Arlena really welcomed me. She has been working on behalf of children for many, many years, as you heard in her bio. And, later conversations, her and Larry Swally, her colleague, that those two have worked really closely together for many years on behalf of our young people. But we talked about it later, and, they had their questions because I was so young, how I might take on that role and fulfill that responsibility, but you would never have known that. You would have never have known those questions they had because they embraced me so openly and warmly and with such encouragement. And I know for a fact I would not have found my footing or been grounded like I was in that role without them. And so I just want to take the time to acknowledge both of you for all that you did for me in my professional life, personal life, and for all you do for the children each and every day. And so,
the best AG we've ever had.
Thank you. But I think it's important, part of this narrative shift is how we treat one another. That was the impetus behind women's equity movement. How we treat one another as relatives, and not just saying it, not just speaking the rhetoric. Women are sacred. Treat each other as relatives. We're all related, but how do we model and live that every day as we walk this earth? That's the challenge, right? And none of us are perfect. Me no exception. Each day at Thunder Valley, as we walk this liberation journey, we constantly have to question ourselves: is this from a colonized mindset, a Western approach, or is this from our Lakota perspective? And being really having the courage to be honest with ourselves and hold that mirror up to ourselves to say, we can do better. Okay, we didn't hit that one quite right, but the next one will be better. And giving ourselves some patience and grace in that process, because it's a hard process. Healing from colonization is the hard work. It's the hardest work. And so I just want to encourage everybody in that way. And the one bit I wanted to share as a part of this women equity work was, Litoy talked about it, is the ending of violence in our communities. Keeping women safe, keeping young women safe. And I'm not sure if you've heard, but the state of South Dakota, the interim attorney general is Mark Fargo, who came from Pennington County, actually. He's starting a division within that office, and it will continue on into the next years as the next Marty Jackley takes office in January. But for missing and murdered Indigenous people, there will be a dedicated position and a dedicated effort from that office to coordinate and find some efforts. And so he created this advisory circle. And just for the general information, during L&I, we're going to host another event, a follow-up event for everyone to attend, to really give some input on what we would like to see from that position and from the state attorney general's office. So keep in mind, it is a prosecutorial position. It's a prosecutorial scope of work, but there's a lot of collaboration that can happen there. So we, as Indigenous community members, as members of the media, we have a really big responsibility to hold that office accountable to the community and to the women and to our relatives that have gone missing, maybe some have been found, and to prevent it from happening. So, there was a really large circle that gathered to offer those words of encouragement and guidance to that as they create that role. But things like community training for search and rescue. We can't wait for authorities to get there a lot of the times. We need action now, not tomorrow or the next day. So how can we bring that grassroots training to our community so we are equipped to take those searches on ourselves? And then what is the massive public awareness efforts that we will do to prevent missing and murdered Indigenous people? A lot of times in our community, it's always so reactionary. We have to for survival, but at the same time, we have to be working to get upstream ahead of these issues before they even happen. And so what is our relationship with the media? And Stuart Huntington, some of you in the media world might know him. He's a part of that office, really focusing on the relationship with the media on bringing attention to our missing and murdered Indigenous relatives. We all know, we saw the stories going around of the non-Indigenous young lady who went missing, and the national media, paid attention to it. They wrote stories about it, they covered it. And not to take anything away from that, but that's how every effort should be when a relative goes missing. And so that's the type of attention we want to our relatives because we love and care for them so much. And so spaces like this are good times to collaborate and to coordinate, and so that we're all on the same page when these types of opportunities come up. So hopefully in December, we'll see many of you in that conversation as well, so that we can hold these state offices and other government offices accountable to our communities. But with that, I just want to close, and I see my Chante Hart back there. She does a lot of work. She was there offering her suggestion in the youth voice at that meeting, and so it's really good to see the next round of the next generations part of these conversations, all the young people, the young women. I see here today, young men. Thank you for being here. So I'll hand it over to Coach.
Okay, so I wanted to have a few people come up, if you guys could stay. And Tate, you guys can stick around. I want to have Nitoy come up in Arlana. Just come on up. Kara. I do want to mention Tui has been and Moshke Lee Daddy, the work that they've done. They were unable to attend, but I would like to let everybody know that they have a lot of passion for the work that they're doing with the women's equity movement. And aside from not being able to attend this, they've been an integral, if not a core piece to what the women's equity movement is doing. So we want to honor them as well. Today we wanted to honor these ladies for the work that they've done. And I'm going to be turning it over here to Moshke Dusty. But this is what we're going to be doing now. She has a few words.
Thank you, Chief Judge. When I first invited myself to Women's Equity Movement, I only invited myself because I looked up to these women so much. And I was like, they're hardworking. They care about their people. And they're really, really intelligent. And I want to be around them and I want to learn from them. And so I feel like I always look at myself as a fangirl, but I've grown to really become like their little sister or like a friend or a niece. And I really admire the work that these women have done through not just the women's equity movement, but throughout their entire lives. And the way they live their lives as models to younger generations and provide spaces that are safe for other women. And to me, that was profound because a lot of the times when we grow up in our community, spaces are very negative. There's lots of oppression and there's not a lot of encouragement from your peers to be successful in the past. But in modern times, I feel like it's really changing before our eyes, and the young people are leading that. But before social media, I used to just have newspapers and telephone marketing telegraph. But so I would always just be, hearing good things about the work of these different women in my community. And then along came women's equity, and I got to work with them, and I realized that. I wouldn't really be standing here if it wasn't for their support. And I wouldn't be able to continue my work and to fulfill my goals and to keep doing the things that I'm passionate about if it wasn't for the support of my peers in this working group. And I want to publicly, together with Coach and Depeshi Shosh, uplift these women publicly. And so we want to honor them for their work and celebrate them.
So at this time, we want to let you present that for gifts. I'm told there's a new company called 8th Generation. These are Middleton, I guess 8th Generation. Anyway, I want to have ask Martha and Edwin if they could come up and sing a song. And want to ask everybody in the crowd if we can start on this side, they come through and you guys want to slide over, they'll come that way. So acknowledge them for their work. Just kind of start a line and go through. They're gonna go ahead and see what, so, good one. Really good song to honor something. So if we could start on this side over here and go through this. Honor them and celebrate all the work that they've done.
to the next breakout session.
Hacha, very beautiful. What we only on here is we honor the women's equity. We say, Wope la tonka chichapi to you. And at this time, friends and relatives, we are going into our breakout sessions. I believe we are going into the Black Hills Ballroom with Bazil Zuya 5 and Kyle Mestis for amplifying Indigenous voices on community issues. That will be at the Black Hills Ballroom. So those of you interested in heading over that direction, you may do so at this time. And then right over here in the private dining room, the Unchi Wichoyake with Jonathan Liu. So I encourage each and every one of you, whichever breakout session you are attending, now's the time to go ahead and move about. And in the meantime, as you're passing through the rooms and things like that, make sure to check out our vendors out there. And again, we want to give a huge thank you and supportive shout out to all the sponsors of this Lakota Media Summit. And when we meet back in here, we will discuss that further. But again, it is breakout session time. Go ahead and make your ways to the private dining room for Unchi Wichoyake. Or if you're choosing Black Hills Ballroom for the amplifying Indigenous voices on community issues. Go ahead, though, and we'll see you back here at 2:20.